Hey, thanks for checking us out. My name's Jim Smith, pastor of San Antonio Heights Community Church, and I hope if you're ever in the area, this is us, you come join us every Sunday morning, 10:15. We're going through the Gospel of John, and we're almost done. It's been over a year, but we're nearing the end of it. But this is the highlight. This is the pinnacle. This is the whole purpose of really writing the book. John says, I want you to believe and know that you have eternal life. And the fact is, Jesus rose from the dead, and the tomb is empty. There's no body in the tomb. The only thing we know about Mary, really, is that at one time she had been possessed, demon-possessed, by some 7 demons. The number one is, you don't have to be defined by your past. Because we read, she followed Jesus. In Luke chapter 8, we read that she was one of the followers. It says that there were several women that contributed from their own expenses and resources to support the ministry of Jesus. You don't have to be defined by your past. God is the God of second chances. And you think of Moses and Noah, Paul, so many that messed up their lives, but through the power and the grace of God, they had another chance. A second lesson that we can learn is also from the life of Mary, but just be persistent in your walk as a believer in Jesus Christ. Be persistent. While it was still dark, she took off with a number of other women. And you're going to have some dark times in your Christian life. It's not all fun and games. There are times that you're going to have to struggle. You're going to have down times, and really our hope is found in Jesus Christ, and that's when someday Jesus will come in His glory and take us to be with Him forever and ever in heaven. But here on earth, and Jesus was honest, He says you're going to have some tough times. You're going to have some trials and difficulties. God doesn't fix it all for us right now. He doesn't pave a wave of comfort, but He says, I'll be there with you. So be persistent in your walk with Jesus and learn from the women that got up early in the morning and went to the tomb because they watched Nicodemus and they watched Joseph of Arimathea place his body, Jesus' body, in Joseph's tomb. And they knew they didn't quite finish the burial process, and they wanted to finish it. The third thing is, Jesus is not always what you expect. He's much, much more, but He's not always what you expect. Mary Magdalene, she shows up to the tomb along with the other women. They see angels. They see the guards that have either fainted or taken off. The stone now is rolled away. The angels say, He's not here. He's risen. This is baffling. Mary Magdalene takes off. Maybe she was one of the fastest or whatever, but she takes off. And she's recorded as going to the disciples, knowing where they were hiding out, knocking on the door, and goes in and says, the body of Jesus is gone. Now, this is not what they expected. Yeah, they heard that maybe the priest thought that they were going to steal the body, but why would anyone else steal the body? This is ridiculous. Back then, the testimony of women weren't always accepted. So Peter and John take off running. They got to go see what Mary said and make sure it's true. Can't be true, really. Could it? So they show up, and John, maybe in a way of saying he's still younger and faster, he got to the tomb but didn't go in. He just kind of stares at it. And then Peter, older but more bold, goes crashing right through into the tomb and looks around. And what they see, it's amazing. They see the wrappings still there, and yet a little caved in because there's no body. They see His face cloth folded somewhere else. Peter goes out and goes, I don't get it. This is not what they expected. They expected Jesus to be the Messiah and set up His kingdom immediately. But Jesus all along had hinted that this is what He had to go through. And the testimony of Mary proved to be true. So be careful not to dismiss the things you don't expect. Later on, Mary had a chance to actually see Jesus face to face. But first of all, John is sitting there and going, wow, Mary, what she said is true. And it says he saw and then he believed. And you know, he used 3 different Greek words that we all read saw. But at first it means he just glanced. The second one, he studied more in detail. And the third time he used that, he saw and believed, is like, phew, I get it. It's a aha moment. Everything Jesus said is true. I get it. Isaiah, the suffering servant. Why didn't I see that before? Man, it's that moment of realization that everything Jesus said was true. My sins can be forgiven, and Jesus will do that. He's going to be with me during my present time. My problems can be managed because Jesus is going to be with me. And heaven, it's secured. I don't have to go through this priest dying or sacrificing for my sins. Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. Everything made sense. This fourth thing is just to remember that Jesus meets us where we are. Mary tells the disciples, but then goes back to the tomb, and John and Peter are gone, and she's just looking, going, and she doesn't understand. She doesn't get it yet. And she sees a gardener. Where have you taken the body? Still not believing Jesus rose. So I can go get him. I don't know if how she was going to get him, thinking it's a dead body. How is she going to carry him? Not thinking clearly. But remember, Jesus meets us where